Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Well, we've got a rainy day today, so it's going to be an indoor video. I write the garden columns for the Sunday edition of the Spokesman Review newspaper in Spokane, Washington. And I wanted to make sure you know that even if you don't live in this area, you can still read my garden columns every week. Just go to the blog on my website, susansinthegarden.com, and you'll find them there. The hardiness zone here is 5B6A. So what's on tap for today? I'm going to show you the veggies I'm going to grow this year, and I also want to show you a new product that we're going to test. Before we get started, here's a quick peek at our vegetable garden from my office window. You can see we still have snow on the ground, but it is melting. I am so excited that the start of spring is getting so close. If you'd like to see the official list of the veggies that I'm going to grow this year, just go to my website, susansinthegarden.com, go to the Guides menu, and then if you go down the list here, you'll see Susan's Garden 2022. Just click on that link. I'll scroll up on this for you. Here is the list. You'll notice there is the name of the crop, the variety I'm growing, and then sources for those seeds. So that should be really helpful for you. First up is Tabor Artichoke, and this is a variety we've grown for a few years and it's been very reliable. It's tricky growing artichokes in our zone because it gets so cold during the winter months. And I have different techniques I do in order to make sure they're productive in a single year. So I've got videos on that, and I promise to talk more about that in future videos. Last year I grew Fino Verde basil for the first time, and it has the most amazing aroma. Every time I walked out in the garden I had to run my hands through it just so I could smell it. I highly recommend this one. It has smaller leaves than most standard basil plants, and it grows in a more globe-like form, which is very pretty in the garden. If you've been following me for a while, you know that my go-to pole bean has been Musica, also referred to as Spanish Musica. Well, it did not tolerate our hot summer last year, and so I decided it was time to try some new varieties that are supposed to be more heat tolerant. So that meant purchasing Vortex and Rattlesnake. Both of those are a pole bean, and I'm very excited to try them this year. Now, in theory, I shouldn't need to grow a bush bean since I'm growing these two types of pole beans. But I grew top crop last year in kind of a last-ditch effort to get some type of a bean harvest since the Musica beans struggled so terribly. I discovered that this bush bean top crop is amazing. It's so flavorful, really productive, and the beans are massive. So this is one that is definitely going in the garden again. The beet on the left is my go-to variety because it has been so reliable, produces really nice large roots, and I just love them. So it can be called either cylindra or cylindrical. That is the exact same thing. And then on the right, I decided to pick up some golden beet seeds just for a little bit of variety. In the past, I've been growing early dividend broccoli, but I decided it was time to try a new, to me at least, variety, and that is Monflor. It sounds like it will be a great one, so I'm looking forward to planting that in the garden. And of course, you'll find out how they do. I had a lot of problems with carrots last year, and I think it was primarily because it was just so incredibly hot. Our temperatures got up to 114 degrees Fahrenheit. Ugh. Because of this, some of the varieties that I planted last year bolted to seed. And I thought, ooh, I need to only plant ones that seem to do relatively okay in the heat. So what I'm planting this year is Scarlet Nantes, Danvers 126, and New Kuroda. Each of these did pretty well in the heat, and it never hurts to plan ahead. I don't know what kind of a summer we're going to get, obviously, but I thought if these ones did last year in the high heat, they should do well this year too. I'll also be growing a rainbow blend of Swiss chard. We are crazy about Swiss chard. It is so delicious, and it grows really well here. It does not bolt to seed, which is awesome. So that's going to be on the list. Oftentimes I'm anxious to try new varieties, but there are some that are just always so delicious and so reliable. And in this case, Sweetness Bicolor Sweet Corn is fantastic. So once again, we're going to grow it. This isn't a very exciting seed packet, but Lunchbox Hybrid Cucumbers are my go-to variety. They are very flavorful, always very tender, and very prolific. Once again, I'm growing Bulgarian giant leeks. You've probably seen photos of my harvest from last year and the year before. This is an amazing leek. They are huge, and I just love growing them, so yep, they'll be in the garden this year. For lettuce, I'm growing a variety that I've grown in the past called Bronze Beauty. The leaves on this are absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm growing two new to me varieties. The one on the left is Crisp Mint. I know that sounds like a strange name for a lettuce. It does not have a mint flavor. It gets its name from the frilly edges of the leaves, which are a little bit similar to a mint plant. And on the right, this is Bunte Forellenschluss, and this is more of a speckly type of a leaf. I love growing melons every year. I'm going to grow a few of my standby one, which is Tuscan Napoli. This one is so succulent and delicious. And then this year I decided I would try a new variety, and it is an heirloom Tuscan melon called Melone Ratato degli Ortolani. I hope I'm saying that right, but I'm excited to try the new one. We actually are growing 3 different varieties of onions. The ones that you can't see are Stuttgarter, and we saved seeds from the plants last year. So those are just little seedlings in a tiny flat right now. We're also growing ruby red onions and Italian red of Florence. The Stuttgarter ones are actually a yellow onion, and we have gotten hooked on red onions. One of the new things that we made last year was red pickled onions. And if that sounds weird, you have to try it because it is amazing. I have a video that goes through the steps of making it, so be sure to look for that on my YouTube channel. If you've been following me for a while, you know that Bill and I have a good-natured battle going in the garden for garden space. And every now and then he likes to add in some new things, but we still want to plant the other things, and so it's always hard to have room for everything. So this is one of the new things this year, and that is Bopak, which is a Pak Choy, and it is a baby Pak Choy that will be growing. It says it just takes 40 days, and we thought, boy, that would be really good in stir fries. Yes, we buy our peas in bulk because we plant a lot of them. So this is Green Arrow shelling peas. I love these peas. They are so prolific. And I start them every year in rain gutters, which I know might sound odd to some of you. I have a fairly new video that just came out recently showing what the method is, how quick it is to transplant the seedlings into the garden, and so on. So be sure to check that out on my YouTube channel. Bill is the pepper growing expert in our family, and every year he has fun choosing the varieties he wants to grow. One of them is early jalapeno. Next is Marconi Rosso. This is a sweet Italian pepper. It has a thick wall. They are really delicious, and that one is always included in the pepper patch. And then we're growing Patapeño. This is one that I grew last year in my green stock vertical garden, and these seeds came from a seed supplier that sent them to garden writers across the country. But you can find these seeds at Park Seed and Seeds and such, just so you know they are available. and then also a hot pepper called Big Jim. He's grown that one before and has been very pleased with it. Now you might think I'm in a bit of a rut, but I really like growing New England pie pumpkins. They are a small pie-sized pumpkin, and they really have grown well for us over the years. I do have one other type coming, but it hasn't arrived yet, and that is Spooky Deep Sugar. I don't ordinarily grow radishes. I don't know why not. I guess I just don't eat them very much. But last year I grew purple plum radishes, and they were quite wonderful and also very pretty in a salad. So I definitely want to grow them again this year. They are so easy, and of course they mature in such a short amount of time. In the past we've always grown Claremore summer squash, but last year Bill said, why don't we try something new? And so we chose Cocozelle, and holy cow, it was so productive. Now I know that zucchini has a reputation for being productive, but these outproduced any we've grown before. They were very flavorful, and they did amazingly well in our hot summer. Now you know me, I love winter squash, and I always have fun picking which ones I want to grow for the year. So this year I'm trying a new to me variety called Australian butter squash. It looks like it should be a good one for this region. I'm also growing Potimarron. This will be my third year of growing them, and these are wonderful small winter squash that are delicious roasted. Another one I'm growing is Goldilocks squash. It looks like an acorn squash, but it has bright orange skin when it matures. That's another one that is amazing when you roast it. And then Autumn Frost winter squash. I am crazy about this one as well. I've grown this one for the last 2 years, so it will be in the garden again. And it's a smallish squash, and when you roast them, oh my word, the flavor is so wonderful. This year we're growing a mix of both old and new to us varieties of tomatoes. These two tomatoes here, Federle and Gilberti, are very reliable paste tomatoes. And then on the top we've got the grape tomato called Pandarino, very prolific, really tasty. And then I've heard about Mortgage Lifter for years, and I thought, you know, it's high time that I try it out. So that's a new one for me. And last but not least is the turnip. The variety is Silky Sweet. I've grown it for a few years now. They are absolutely delicious. I've mentioned this before, but you can eat them like an apple. And they are really tasty. They're crispy, and we really enjoy having them in the garden. Now I promised that I was going to tell you about this new product that we're going to try out this year. So in my garden, what I have been using for years is floating row cover, or I use bridal veil netting, which is also known as tulle. And that is to keep aphids and cabbage worms away from my cabbage family crops. I use the floating row cover also to keep leaf miner flies away from my spinach, beets, and Swiss chard plants, so that they will not lay eggs and have all kinds of problems. I also use bird netting to keep birds away from salad greens that I grow. So there's something new that I want to try this year, and let me show you what it looks like. We have been hearing about agricultural netting or insect netting, and we kept thinking, boy, maybe that would be tougher so it would hold up in the garden better, and also maybe the holes would be smaller to keep aphids out. This is what it looks like. I've got my hand under it so you can see that I will be able to see the plants underneath it really well. Now with the tulle netting that I've been using in the past, every now and then aphids still get through it, and so I wanted to get something that was an even finer mesh, and that's what this is. Let me show it to you up close. There, do you see how small that mesh is? So it's a lot more durable. It is UV resistant. So we want to go ahead and try it this year both on a couple of the raised beds to keep bugs away from the cabbage family crops, which primarily will be the Pak Choy and the broccoli. Also from the beet family crops, so beets, spinach, and Swiss chard. We're also going to use this for the covers that we'll have on 2 raised beds. So I'm very excited to try it. We bought this netting from agfabric.com, but of course I can't recommend it yet because I don't know how well it will work in our garden. But I feel very excited about using it and really hopeful that it does the trick. Okay, that's all for now. Remember to like this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody. I'll see you next week.